Welcome to the video. Today we're going to explore some fashion tips specifically tailored for women over 50. Age should never limit your style no matter where you are in life. You can still embrace a unique, elegant, and confident look. Style is all about confidence, and confidence has nothing to do with age. In this video, we'll cover some simple but incredibly effective fashion hacks that will help you look fresher, more sophisticated, and chic every single day. These fashion tips are all about helping women over 50 elevate their style without needing to completely overhaul their wardrobe. With a few easy adjustments, you can achieve a refined, modern look. I'd love to hear your favorite fashion hacks too. Drop them in the comments below, and let's start a conversation about staying stylish at any age. Tip 1. Keep it simple and chic with the tuck. The tuck is one of the simplest yet most effective fashion hacks. It involves tucking your blouse or shirt into your pants or skirt to create a more streamlined, polished look. This small adjustment instantly transforms an outfit, making it appear more structured and flattering without needing to overhaul your entire wardrobe. The best part, it accentuates your silhouette and helps you look put together, all while maintaining comfort. Many women feel self-conscious when wearing loose, oversized blouses because they can look baggy or shapeless. But by simply tucking in the fabric, you can instantly give your outfit a cleaner, more flattering shape. A quick tuck is an easy way to make your outfit look chic without spending extra money or time. For example, every time I wear an oversized blouse, I used to feel a bit frumpy. But once I started tucking the front of my blouse into my jeans, it transformed the entire look. My outfit immediately became more polished and stylish. It's a small change, but it makes a huge difference. It's not just me, this trick works for so many women. One of my friends, Susan, shared how she felt a huge change in how her clothes fit after she started tucking in her blouses. She used to avoid wearing oversized tops because she felt they made her look bigger. But once she incorporated the tuck, it gave her the shape she was looking for, making her feel more confident and stylish. Have you ever tried tucking in your blouse or shirt? How did it make you feel? Let me know in the comments. Besides giving you a more structured look, the tuck also allows you to revamp items in your wardrobe that you might not wear often anymore. For example, a long shirt that might have felt too casual can be transformed into a sharp, flattering outfit just by tucking it in. This trick is especially great for making older pieces feel fresh and new again without buying anything new. The tuck is a simple yet powerful way to instantly elevate your look. You don't need to change everything in your wardrobe. Just one simple move can make all the difference. It's a great way to feel chic and confident without spending a lot of time or money. But looking polished isn't just about tucking in your shirts. It's also about adding the right accessories. Let's talk about how a simple belt can change your outfit from basic to amazing in just seconds. Tip 2. The power of a belt. The secret to enhancing your shape. A belt is one of the most versatile and powerful accessories you can use to define your shape and elevate your style. A well-chosen belt can accentuate your waist, creating a more defined, balanced silhouette and adding sophistication to any outfit. It helps structure your look, making even the simplest outfit appear more polished and put together. Using a belt is an easy way to transform your wardrobe. For instance, a maxi dress, which can sometimes feel plain or shapeless, can be instantly elevated with the addition of a wide belt. The belt not only highlights your waist but also adds a touch of elegance, making the entire outfit feel more stylish and refined. This simple change boosts your confidence and gives you that polished, elegant look. Belts come in many styles, and they can work with nearly any outfit. If you're looking for a more subtle effect, a thinner belt can add just the right amount of definition without overpowering your look. On the other hand, a wide belt is perfect for making a bold statement and enhancing your figure, especially when paired with looser dresses or oversized shirts. Have you ever tried using a belt to enhance your outfit? How did it change your look? Let me know in the comments. Not only does a belt define your waist, but it also brings balance and harmony to your overall outfit. For a more sleek, minimalist look, a thin belt can keep things simple and elegant, while a wider belt adds more structure and personality. The right belt can truly make all the difference in how your outfit comes together. A belt isn't the only accessory that can elevate your look. Let's move on to another essential style hack: how to incorporate the right jacket. or blazer to instantly add sophistication and structure to your outfit. Tip 3. Choose shapewear to enhance your figure. Shapewear is an essential part of any wardrobe that helps create a smooth, polished silhouette. A high-quality piece of shapewear can make your clothes look smoother and more refined, without any visible lines or lumps. It helps garments fit better, allowing your body to appear more toned and flattering. The right shapewear can create a seamless look, giving you the confidence to wear clothes that hug your curves. I didn't pay much attention to shapewear in the past, but once I started wearing it, I noticed an immediate difference. My clothes fit better and my overall look was much more polished. My waist looked slimmer and my dresses fit in a way that truly highlighted my figure. What I didn't realize was how much shapewear could elevate my outfit until I tried it for myself. One of my friends, Sarah, had a similar experience. She struggled to wear tight-fitting clothes because she couldn't find the right foundation pieces. But once she tried shapewear, she found that it gave her the smooth, toned look she'd been looking for. It helped her feel more confident and gave her the ability to wear clothes she had once avoided. You pay attention to shapewear when choosing your clothes. Have you noticed the difference it makes in how your outfits fit and feel? Let me know in the comments. Choosing the right shapewear is about more than just comfort. It's about creating a flawless look that enhances your natural shape. A good shapewear piece can make your clothes fit better, giving you a polished, elegant appearance that's both comfortable and stylish. While shapewear is a game changer, another important factor in looking your best is selecting the right clothing that complements your figure. Let's move on to the next tip for enhancing your style and creating that perfect silhouette. Tip 4. Accessories: the key to transforming any outfit. Accessories are an essential part of any wardrobe, offering an easy way to add personality and style to your look. A statement necklace or a high-quality handbag can instantly change the vibe of your outfit. Accessories are not just decorative pieces. They are powerful tools that enhance the beauty of your clothes while boosting your confidence and sophistication. A statement piece like a bold necklace can take a simple outfit and make it striking. Similarly, a high-end handbag can elevate an otherwise casual outfit, turning it into something special. I have a red handbag that I absolutely love. Every time I carry it, I feel like my style gets an instant upgrade. The red bag not only draws attention, but also reflects my confidence and strong personality. It's amazing how such a simple accessory can transform my entire look. One of my friends, Lisa, shared that she used to feel like her outfits lacked something until she added a statement necklace to her collection. She told me that the necklace brightened up her look and became the focal point of her outfit. Each time she wears it, she feels more confident and her style stands out. You use accessories to highlight your outfit. What's your favorite accessory that makes you feel confident and stylish? Accessories do more than just beautify your outfit. They help you express your individuality and personal style. A handbag or a necklace isn't just an accessory. It's a statement about who you are and how you want to be seen by the world. While accessories are key, choosing the right fabric and fit for your clothes is just as important. Let's move on to the next tip that will help you elevate your style even further. Tip 5. Get creative with scarves. Scarves are one of the most versatile accessories in your wardrobe, offering endless possibilities to elevate your style without adding extra items. A scarf can be transformed into a new piece of clothing, a belt, or even a hair accessory, bringing a fresh, unique touch to any outfit. Not only do scarves help keep you warm, but they also serve as a fantastic tool to add personality and flair to your look. You can easily turn a scarf into a chic, lightweight jacket by tying it around your shoulders, creating a sophisticated and fashionable look. On days when your hair isn't cooperating, a scarf can also be used as a stylish headband, adding an extra pop to your outfit. Each time you switch up how you wear your scarf, you'll feel like you've created a brand new look. Scarves are also incredibly practical for travel, saving you space while offering multiple styling options. A single scarf can become a shawl around your shoulders, a waist-cinching belt, or even a headpiece, depending on how you choose to wear it. With just one accessory, you can create countless styles that complement any wardrobe. Do you often use scarves in your outfits? Have you ever tried turning your scarf into a creative accessory? Let me know your favorite ways to wear scarves in the comments. Scarves are a must-have because of their versatility. Using scarves in creative ways not only saves you money, but also keeps your outfits feeling fresh and new every time. Aside from scarves, the right accessories can truly transform your look. Let's dive into the next tip to further enhance your style. Tip 6. Add a blazer for structure. A blazer is an essential piece in any wardrobe, perfect for elevating your style with a polished, professional look. A well-tailored blazer can instantly transform any outfit, whether casual or formal, by providing structure and definition. It helps you look taller, leaner, and more put together, giving you a boost of confidence. Blazers aren't just for formal occasions. They can easily elevate casual outfits as well. Adding a blazer to a simple pair of jeans and a blouse can immediately make your outfit look more sophisticated and professional. The moment I added a blazer to my casual outfit, I noticed a clear difference. The outfit went from simple to polished, and I felt instantly more confident and stylish. Blazers work wonders for creating a more structured and balanced look. It pulls everything together, making your ensemble look well thought out without having to overcomplicate things. It's the perfect piece to instantly upgrade your style and create a sharp, clean silhouette. Have you ever tried pairing a blazer with your casual outfits? How did it change the look of your outfit? Let me know in the comments. A blazer is not only a great way to add structure to your look, but also a versatile piece that can elevate your style for various occasions. Whether you're heading to work, meeting friends, or attending a casual event, a blazer can always make you look effortlessly chic and sophisticated. While blazers are a great starting point, let's explore another tip that will help refine your style even more. Tip 7. Roll up your sleeves, tuck your pants for a polished look. Small details like rolling up your sleeves or tucking the hem of your pants might seem minor, but they can completely transform your outfit. These simple adjustments not only make your clothes look more polished, but also give your outfit a more intentional and put-together feel. Rolling up your sleeves just a bit, rather than leaving them hanging loosely, instantly makes your outfit look more tailored and sharp. It gives the impression that you've put thought into your look without having to make drastic changes. Similarly, tucking the hem of your pants can help define the shape of your outfit, making it appear cleaner and more structured rather than loose and untidy. These small tweaks might seem insignificant, but they can make a huge difference in how your outfit appears. With just a little effort, your clothes will look more refined and polished. You often roll up your sleeves or tuck your pants to give your outfit a little more structure. How does it make you feel when you make these small changes to your clothes? Rolling up your sleeves or tucking your pants is an easy way to add definition and structure to any outfit. These simple tricks help you achieve a polished look without needing to overthink your wardrobe choices. In addition to these small adjustments, choosing the right accessories plays a big role in elevating your style. Let's dive into the next tip to enhance your look even further. Tip 8. Choose shoes that are both comfortable and stylish. Shoes are an essential part of any wardrobe, not only for comfort, but also for elevating your overall look. When choosing shoes, comfort and style should go hand in hand. A good pair of shoes should make you feel confident and at ease, while also complementing your outfit and adding a touch of sophistication. The right shoes can enhance your entire look, giving you a polished and chic appearance without sacrificing comfort. Comfortable shoes are key, especially when you're on your feet all day. A pair of shoes that fit well and feel comfortable can make a significant difference in how you move and how your outfit looks. A stylish yet comfortable shoe will not only elevate your outfit, but will also make you feel more confident and put together. You pay attention to comfort when choosing shoes. How do you feel about combining comfort and style in your footwear choices? Shoes are more than just functional, they are a statement piece. Selecting shoes that are both comfortable and stylish allows you to move with confidence while enhancing your overall look. A well-chosen pair can elevate any outfit, making you feel both stylish and at ease, in addition to choosing the right shoes. Accessories like handbags and sunglasses can also play a huge role in completing your look. Let's move on to the next tip to further refine your style. Tip 9. Choose well-fitting clothing. Choosing well-fitting clothing is essential for creating a polished and confident look. Whether the item is from a high-end brand or a more affordable line, clothes that fit properly always look better. Well-fitting clothes highlight your shape and give you a tailored, sophisticated appearance. You don't need expensive pieces to look great. The right fit can make any outfit stand out. A cheap dress that fits well will always look better than an expensive one that's too loose. When I wear a dress that fits perfectly, I notice a clear difference in how I look. It makes me appear more streamlined and naturally highlights my figure. A dress that's too loose can make you look sloppy no matter how much it costs. Well-fitted clothing doesn't just make you look better. It also boosts your confidence and ensures you feel comfortable in your outfit. When you choose clothes that fit, you feel like you've put more thought into your appearance, and that confidence shows in how you carry yourself. Do you pay attention to the fit of your clothes when shopping? How does it feel when you wear a perfectly fitted outfit compared to one that's too loose? Well-fitting clothes are essential for creating a stylish and confident look. They not only make you look better, but also give you the comfort you need to feel your best in any situation. In addition to choosing well-fitting clothes, fabric and styling also play an important role in refining your look. Let's dive into the next tip to perfect your style even more. To quickly recap, we covered several key fashion hacks today for women over 50. From picking the right fit to adding accessories and experimenting with textures. These simple changes can have a big impact on your overall look. Remember, fashion is about having fun and feeling confident. Don't be afraid to experiment with your style. Try these tips and see how they can refresh your wardrobe and make you feel more confident. If you enjoyed these tips, share your own fashion hacks in the comments and make sure to subscribe for more videos that will help you elevate your style. Stay confident, stay fashionable.